Hey, deformed car lovers and possibly remote controlled car fans. So here we are on AliExpress. I have no affiliation, so don't buy this if you don't want. I don't really care. But a lot of people ask, where do you get that stuff? And so I got it from this exact listing, UUU store. So that's the price with just the remote control and the camera. I already have FPV goggles, but if you want to get one, the whole setup is 135 bucks, and so you can actually see what the car is seeing, as you drive. There's a ton of videos on these things on YouTube already. I'm not a professional reviewer. All my stuff is really casual because YouTube doesn't pay anything. There's no reason to do it professionally. And if I had 1 million subscribers, I suppose I'd do that, but I don't. This is how it came exactly. I cut it and then I realized what it was. And then I stopped opening it because I want you guys to see how well it's packed from this shop. UU, whatever that store name is. So it's just bubble wrap. There's no carton or anything like that. But I guess it's fine because everything it looks like is inside of a carton. So it's like reverse packaging, right? Alright. Yeah, everything's fine. So it seems like a trustworthy place. Well, right off the bat, I gotta say this is a lot bigger than I thought it would be, but I knew it's bigger than a Chorokyu. If you look into my channel, you'll find that I really like those Chorokyu deformed cars. I have hundreds of them. And I actually bought this, not because it's a remote controlled car. I bought it because it's a deformed Skyline Hakosuka, which is an R27 generation or whatnot. Eesh. So, one thing is, you might not want to order from these guys if you want to give this as a gift, because look at this. I mean, this would not... You're not going to be able to give this to someone as a gift, right? When it's all like that. What is this? Is this an extra... Did I order an extra body? I don't know. Yeah, well, let's look at this thing. I'm going to get rid of this screen here. Well, it's a pretty stiff box. It's got an image of like a Z. Oh, FPV. Maybe this is the camera. So it seems like everything is piecemeal. It's not all like one giant box with the different scenarios of ordering. Okay, so that is just the camera. Alright, well that's fine, whatever. It's kind of weird that they would bother putting foam but not on the top and bottom, because it's still... Well, hopefully it's not broken. We'll find out. This box is so sturdy, I'm going to save it for whenever I sell something on eBay myself. What's in this bag? I see. There's a connector and there's 3 screws. Basically, if you buy one of these cars without the remote camera system, you can retrofit it. This goes into the car, I believe. And then this camera with magnets, sticks onto that. Or, I guess you could just put it on any RC vehicle or airplane or whatever you want to put it on. So that's actually kind of cool. It actually is just a freestanding system. Tiny little antenna. It flexes a little bit. Alright. That seems pretty good there. It says frequency. There's some dip switches, it looks like. A, B, C, D. Oddly, I don't see any instruction. Let's just double check. No, I thought maybe there'd be a small, set of instructions so you can figure out what those dip switches are, but there are not. Hopefully you can go online and figure that out. Alright, let's put that away. Alright, let's get into the RC car. So this one can obviously be given away as a present if you want, because it's got a separate heat shrunk piece of plastic going around it. Microcar 14 and up, SNT, alright. I don't know why it says SG. Alright. So yeah. Well, see, that's interesting. Like, why would they even have the option to have the camera if it's not inside that box? See, actually, yeah, that's weird. It's Somewhere along the way, they decided to just put the cameras in a separate piece of packaging, even though this packaging is designed to have it. So it's just more wasteful packaging getting out into the oceans and making eating seafood no longer appetizing. Come on. Okay, well, this again is such a wasteful amount of packaging. It's silly, I think. I don't know who would have a desire to display this in the box with the camera on it, but that's what it seems like they were thinking about. There's some tape here. I'm gonna get this tape off here and here. So the base does have the brand on it and the website. So I guess that's good because you can buy it in the future without packaging and know who made it. See, so it's interesting that they would have the vacuum form for the camera and then just not have it. A quality control thing, so that's nice. If it works, I guess that's legit. It's a nice little bag. Now this I can understand being in a bag because it doesn't want to, you know, scratch up the car. Oh, okay, so this car is actually significantly larger than a Chorokyu. I'm going to do a comparison to Chorokyus and stuff in a moment. But the tires and the wheels, they are Chorokyu size, it looks like. You'll see the rubber on this is pretty messed up, though. And it's very grippy, though, I'll give them that. These tires are much grippier than Chorokyu tires. Chorokyus are pullback toys, in case you haven't... in case you've never heard of them. What I'm not liking is they're like dirty, and you can see there's a sink mark on both sides because this stand is just, you know, grabbing the tire, so it's just friction. So like that. I kind of feel like that could have been better, because what good is a display box if it hides your model or your toy, right? I feel like it would have been better if they did like something like TinyQ does, where they have teeth on the bottom that snap onto something on the frame. But maybe they just didn't have room. Although I kind of feel like they could add a snap in the front and the back. But maybe it depends on the car bodies. I know they have alternate car bodies. Well, what's kind of cool looking here is I think that's a carbon fiber plate. It's cool. It's... you know, it's not hot, it's not cold, it has that room temperature feel that carbon fiber has. I'm pretty sure that's actually carbon fiber. And that's milled out. Alright, well, being an RC car, the thing is fully proportional steering and throttle. And I guess the earlier ones from my watching YouTube had a worm gear, but this one clearly has normal gears. You know, you can really see it through the plastic there, which is kind of cool. I like it. I like being able to see all the mechanics of stuff. And there's a bunch of LED light bars and stuff like that. So now we have our 88 SNT or Sniclo. I don't know if that's an I or a T, doesn't matter. The wheels, yeah, they have black in the middle, and they do look very much like Chorokyu wheels. But I was debating actually 3D printing my own wheels, but I don't think I should, because you need to have a certain amount of friction, and I also feel like I'll destroy this if I take this wheel off and try to put a different one on. The front tires are really narrow. It's quite interesting. The rears, they're Chorokyu-esque. Alright, so R27, that's the, I guess, the body code name for this Hakosuka Skyline body style, which is my favorite type of Skyline, so that's why I bought this thing. You can obviously you know, see the clear plastic because LEDs are literally going to shine through that. And on the rear, they're just clear. They're not red clear though, but I'm sure there's red LEDs behind it. A little bit of extra molding flash there. R27 again on the license plate, so that's cool. I might put on my own metal license plates though. So we're gonna have to put a wing on here, and then here's the little hatch for the that camera. So that's nice and convenient. You just magnetically attach it and you're good to go. So it turns out I didn't get the blue one. I stuff takes weeks to show up, so I don't remember. But what's unfortunate is this silver is not very nice looking. It there's something about how this was painted or also molded. This is a sinkhole right here. So the cooling of the plastic caused that to sink in there. It cooled at a different rate, longer than basically the rest of the body. And something about here, there's like waviness or sinking or something. So yeah, again, I think there's a sinkhole there as well. There's probably some studs on the opposite sides of these sinkholes, and that's what's screwing them down. Yes, you can actually see them. So see, there's two long pillars. I guess I gotta get my dental pick. That and that. That's what's holding the base to the top. And this one must be for the middle. And that's why there's sinkholes here. So unfortunately, the mold designers whoever made this, they're not really at the top of the game. You know, a proper mold designer would figure out a way to mold the channels so they cool evenly. So, all right. So be mindful of that. If it was a white car, it'd be less noticeable. I mean, a silver should be less noticeable. The darker it is, it'd be worse, actually. So if this was one of those blue metallic cars, it might actually look worse. All right, panel gaps there are okay. It's just a blacked out window with paint. The body isn't clear. The whole body is opaque and then painted. All right, the bumpers, they're casted in. So maybe what's nice about this is recessed. You could add some orange for the turn signals and black for those vents. What's kind of weak is I think they could have easily molded in some grill marks here. You know, that's just perfectly flat when it could have been molded just as easily to have some details. All right, and then I really wish I didn't have to pay for this whole box in the first place. This thing literally has a photo etched piece of metal. You know, it's like that costs money. This is actually a really nice piece of metal, but it means I had to pay for it. Like all this stuff could have cost $10 cheaper if it didn't have this box and this thing. So we gotta put this wing on. It's nice that it comes in a different bag. It would be nicer if it was just on the model, but I guess they fear it would break off during shipping. What would be even better is if they gave you 2 or 3 of them, because I imagine you could break this just owning this thing. Eventually you're gonna drop it or something. It's also not even a nicely molded wing. It just looks sloppy for some reason. Like the molding sprues or something, there's like 3 rectangles there, and the front edge isn't straight. So yeah, that's weird. It's something to do with the molding process. The back edge is fine, you know, that's straight, but the front is not. So being a get a good jewelry file and maybe sand that whole front edge down. What a pain. No, that's not easy to do because it's gonna collide and start standing away the pillars. And I will say though, the actual pillars or the struts, they're very thin. They're actually more like a static model thin. There's not something I would expect to be on an RC car. So I do feel this is gonna, you know, this wing is gonna break if you play around with it very often. I guess that's as good as I'm gonna get it. So naturally you're gonna have to have some glue, which I'm actually afraid of putting in there because at least crazy glue. I'm not sure if I want to put super glue in there. But I guess I don't have a choice. If I just use school glue, it's going to break out. Okay. Yeah, hopefully I don't mess this up. tiny dab on the bottom there. Put this in here. Yeah, I don't think I have enough glue in that. So this is very annoying. What's difficult is I don't know. I think that's flattening out right there. The things are so short that they rock front and back very easily, and that's what's proving to be difficult. I kind of wish the struts were longer. And now you can see it's taking up the paint. So the crazy glue is literally now just adhering to paint that's falling off the body. Well, we'll have to let that cure and see what happens. I feel like this side's secure now, but this side is now loose because the paint fell off the body. And in fact, while that's curing, I think I should just use the good old USB cord and charge this thing. Alright, well naturally you want to put the Type-C. Thankfully it's a Type-C and not some old micro stuff. So then the lights in the tail lights kind of glow. They have a breathing glowing pattern. So that's kind of cool, right? So that's neat actually. I like that. You can actually see the LEDs, the SMDs on the board, and they're actually shining upwards. And so these light bars are coming, they're above it, and then they go back down. And they're just transmitting the light that way. So that's neat. So this is also an issue. If you're charging it, right, I feel like you're going to just put it down and you're going to scratch the paint and stuff like that. Possibly the remote control has a charger though, so we'll have to see. So now's a good time to open up that box. So it says Air 5, Air Series 5 channel. I actually have a bunch of remote controls, but I was watching a channel, Beavers RC. Awesome channel on RC stuff. He's actually in my subscriptions. And he goes into all the details, including protocols. And so I don't have a radio that runs on a protocol, which is kind of like a type of way of saying a special frequency that this transmits at. So that's why I had to buy this. I don't know why no one makes a road like steering wheel transmitter that has all the protocols. You would think with all the RC cars and trucks and tanks and all that stuff that someone would do that by now. Alright, now that the shiny plastic is gone, we can see it better. So you can pick from some funky colors. I don't think that's really necessary, but whatever. It's a 20-degree offset. Supposedly that's better for ergonomics. We'll have to see. This will be my first one that has a wheel like that. And then the legal jargon and the specs. It's 135 grams. The wheel is 56 millimeters, and then 5 channels to control all the lights and all that stuff. What? What is up with these people? Why is there a cardboard box or sleeve around another cardboard box, right? This is why the world is so polluted. It's so silly, it's redundant. So now we have this thing, okay? with all the same information, basically. What are these guys thinking? It just makes no sense. So again, this is just more garbage I'm paying for, and you're paying for if you decide to buy this stuff, and then it's going to end up polluting the world more. I will say the foam is really nice. I'm pretty confident this thing cannot get broken very easily from shipping damage. There's even foam on the bottom. But yeah, that box is now trash. There's also a quality control triangle coming out. Alright, let's see about the instructions. Although I think we should be able to figure this out pretty easily. That's all Chinese. There's English here halfway through. Alright, and then some troubleshooting. So that might be handy to read. Well, it's been charging for a good 30 minutes and still isn't finished. But let's just go over the controls. I read through the instructions. I also came to realize, Type C actually has a lot of friction. So maybe that's why they chose to not have the car charged on this thing. But the remote control does have an output. If you want to get a Type C to Type C, you can just run a cable from this and then charge your vehicle from that. And what is really smart about these guys is they put 2 options for the batteries, and that's either 3 AAAs, which would, oh look, it does have that thing. Very nice. All right, cool. Yeah, you can put 3 AAAs into this thing if you want, or you can put one 18650. So I've noticed a design problem. You really can't use 18650s very easily, and the reason why, the positive side is coming to touch this bump. The thing is, if you look, that bump is not sticking out past the plastic. It's recessed. These guys, whoever designed this is a complete moron. So like if you put in a battery, an 18650, this is flush, right? The bump, if it's flush also, these two things are not going to touch. I got it to work once with this, but here's a different one. And it's not going to touch that bump. I thought the thing was broken, but this light actually turns on when it actually gets electricity. So you see, that thing is not working. Let's see if I can get the other one to work again. No. See? That is poorly designed. I don't know. It's crazy that it's 2023 and people are still designing stuff that in such a bad way. Like, anyone should realize that this is flush. They never even tested. I don't even think someone whoever designed this remote control has one of these in their hands. They would quickly realize that this thing is flush, right? There's a reason why this thing sticks out so far, is because it can get up in here, right? So, yeah, keep that in mind. 18650 is not going to work without some modification. Alright, I got some tools. Let's see if this is easy to do. So I'm going to flick this thing up. I thought there might be a pin holding that in place. There seems to be a bent piece of metal up there holding that up. So I got to somehow wedge that down. Maybe a thin screwdriver. Hopefully you can, let me show you there. So you got to push that down on both sides, this piece of metal here, because that's kind of like acting as a tooth. You know what, I have some shims. Phone pry tool set. Let's see if I can get that. That's really tough angle. Oh, there we go. Alright. I don't know if mine's just a fluke, but I do feel it's just poorly designed. Alright, so the goal is to now make this dome taller. So I have some poster putty here. I'm going to put the dome in the poster putty. Then I have a bunch of hole punches for my airsoft stuff. And these, coincidentally, are domed. So, no, that's too big. So it seems like a quarter inch dome. Should hopefully be a good match for this. Yes, alright. So now we got a good old hammer. Let's do a John Henry. It's a little bit out there more, but I don't think it's out a lot. Okay, I think that's pretty rounded. I don't see a flat spot anymore. The only problem is that, you know, it's going to have less electrical contact with the actual flat spot on the battery. But let's see what works. So it's actually all bent out of place because, you know, that poster putty, but I think it'll straighten itself out as I slide this in here. There we go. Alright, so as long as it's pushed up against that wall, should be fine, and that's actually floating right now, so it should compress down and touch that to connect the circuit. So now I'm noticing this door actually has an open slot there. This has a tab, but the tab is actually wider than that slot. So what I'm trying to do now is actually make that tab smaller so I can actually slide it all the way into that. Well, no, don't even bother doing what I just did, because it only travels that far. The only way you really make all that fit inside that groove is if you took this whole thing apart and then took some of the teeth away from the thing that's hidden behind this surface here, so it could go further that way. So you might as well just leave it alone and have that little bit of plastic holding it in place. Unless you drop it, I don't think the battery would fall out. Okay, so back at that, there. Okay, turn it on. Yeah, that's how you know it's good. Alright, oh, again, I don't want to lose this. Pop that in there. If you have it unbound, you just turn on the car, and you have to wait 8 seconds for the light sequence to finish. So this is the light sequence. It's flashing, doing some sort of diagnostic or something, I don't know. There, then it rapidly flashes, and now it's searching for the radio. So mine's bound already, but if it wasn't, you turn on the radio. Well, you know what? Maybe it's not bound, because it's still flashing. So, hold on. This top button with this like setting wheel icon, you just hold that for 2 seconds. There, that sequence is now, that rapid flashing on the car is turned solid. So that's how it's simple. It's nice and bound. I guess, you know, I kind of wish it just had bind written there, so that's why I added that. The thing that looks like a play icon is the VTX, the video transmitter. This is your lighting, which actually, hold on, let's turn this light off in the booth. So you can change the colors of the actual accent lighting. Off, red, purple, blue, green, sky blue, orange, off. Being a Skyline, I think I'll go with the light blue. I like that one. Alright, so the very bottom button is the headlights. Although it's kind of, you can kind of see it working, right? Maybe with the accents off, it might be better, right? Headlights on, headlight off. There's actually 2 brightnesses of the headlights. Low beam, high beam. Okay. Alright. And then if you reverse, or you just let go of the throttle, the red lights come on. Alright. And then I think if you steer, it might have turn signals. So if I'm turning right, it flashes orange, right? They're literally turn signals. But there's none in the front, it seems. Yeah, no turn signals up front. Okay. Let me turn the booth lights on. Where's my switch? It's so dark in here. Okay, so pretty tight turning radius. Beaver's Hobby always does this, and I think it's important to do. If this thing, the tire is basically at 0, I'm going to just turn the wheel all the way. Is there like an 8-inch turning radius or like a 20 centimeter turning radius, which is fine. All right, let's just fiddle around with the trims here. So you have the more power or less power. Oh, it's not a, I thought it was just a throttle trim, but I think this is literally giving you more access to more power. I gotta set the trim here, the steering trim. That's the wrong direction. You'll see that the wheels are not parallel. They're actually V-shaped right now. I don't know if that's just slop or something or by design. They're I don't know why that is. I'm not sure if that makes it more stable or not. Alright, that's running pretty straight. Alright. So this is theoretically at max power. Unfortunately, if you just hold it, nothing happens. But when I hit it, the whole thing vibrates. The whole controller has a haptic feedback. Same with the steering, it had haptic feedback. Alright. That's full speed. Let's do it again. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Let's do the slowest. Now. Alright, 3, 2, 1. It's definitely noticeably slower. Right? So that's kind of cool. You know, if you have like a... but oddly, the steering... Alright, now it's straight. If you have like a little kid, you know, they could definitely use it. Yeah, you could really use this on a tabletop. It's actually pretty cool. I thought it'd be too big, but at this speed, you can definitely set up some sort of obstacles on a large table and make it work. Here's a comparison to the Turbo Racing Mini Cooper, and I reviewed this earlier on. It's a 1/76 scale Mini Cooper, and so this is obviously huge. I think it's a 1/43 scale in that ballpark. We'll check that out later. So I was just curious, you know, let's turn this thing on and see what the radius of this is. Because this is really a desktop RC car too. Oh man, that thing is so tight. It was like less than 4 inches. In this, you can also adjust the throttle and all that stuff too. So, all right, maybe it's 5 at slow speed, but what I don't really like about this thing or the drift version, this one's actually all right because it's a grip racer or a grip drive. But the drift one, it doesn't drift left and right evenly because the weighting isn't equal. That's what I think. Someone mentioned there might be like hairs or something causing drag, but I don't really see anything up in there. So I think it's just not balanced properly. But it is tiny, and I give them credit for making this because it's kind of cool. But it just doesn't work as well as, you know, a hobby grade one, obviously, because those are fully balanced. Alright, well anyways, yeah, for RC cars, there's the scaling differences. Alright, those you can look up, I have reviews of those elsewhere, or again, you can just look up other more RC-oriented channels. So let's get this thing out of the way. I guess we should see now about the FPV stuff. What I do like about this one is it's not a slide switch, it's just a press switch. Great, there you go. You don't have to sit there with tiny fingernails, right? You just have to press it. And it's in a location where I don't think anything's going to accidentally turn it on and off. It's so inset from the outside, and it's flush with the base plate. So I think it's pretty good. Alright. Huh. I don't know what happened there. Why isn't it remembering itself? I guess I'll just turn the bind button. 1, 2, 3. Here you go. It's bound. But why wouldn't it remember it from the last time? I'm not sure. Yeah, that is weird though. How the I forget what this is called. They're not pitched inwards, but they're pitched outwards. The tires. Is it just slop in the axles? Maybe it's just slop in the play. So let's see about the VTX or the FPV stuff. So if you hit the this button here, the second one down with the play icon, you can see it turns lights on in the camera. So I have to assume that right now is transmitting. Just to see battery, I'm gonna turn that off. There's this little gray box here. I wonder what that does. Let's see. Oh, I see. It changed to B channel. So maybe that'll help. Let me fiddle around with this stuff now. So I ended up having to move the camera to channel 4 or D. I guess it's labeled D. It really depends on what's going on in your particular area. You know, maybe there's a bunch of radios or something nearby on different frequencies, and so I had to switch to D to get a stable video. And then on the goggles, I'm on channel 3. So, but anyways, it's not a bunch of lines. You can literally now see, right, me moving the car around. And so I'll do a quick little run through the living room. Let's see what that looks like. So this might be a little tough because this cat, obviously. I'm not even wearing the goggles right now, and this is still the slowest speed. Let me just double check here. We'll just power minus. The instructions didn't mention anything about how many levels of power there are. So look how tight that turn is. And again, I think it has to do with those really sticky tires. So this is actually really good to start with, right? The problem is the wheelbase on this thing is so short. It wants to do a full rotation more than just steer left and right. But you can see the turn signal going off every now and then. I'm going to turn the underglow on. Alright, there's a red underglow. Blue underglow. Alright, let's crank this up though. Crank up the speed on this guy. And again, the control is vibrating every time I hit the button. You can just hear the difference. Whoa, it literally just did a donut because it was so fast. Interesting. What I'm trying to figure out right now is the left and right turning, are they equal? So far I feel like they are. Maybe it's because the wheelbase is so short that you can't really tell, or I find it difficult to tell. It just wants to turn really fast no matter which direction. But here's a left turn, and then full throttle, it's just like doing a donut almost. And then let's do a right turn. Yeah, it's behaving very similarly. Actually, no, I would say the right is even more tight. It's doing more of a pirouette. The left, yeah, you see the left, well, actually that's doing a pirouette also on doing this left turn. My surface isn't very smooth. That's also why I never use my drift car anymore. This surface has all these ridges between the planks of fake wood here. Alright, well I guess now it's time for me to do an FPV. So I want to pull some measurements in case you want to see roughly what scale it would be, even though it's a cartoon car. I'm not going to do the math myself. It's 36 millimeters wide, and overall length is around 54. Height, around 28. So, okay, so here's a 1/64 scale Fuel Me of a Hakosuka. And so this is definitely much bigger than that. Chorokyu wise is huge compared to Chorokyus. But you'll notice these two Chorokyus here, a race one and a street one, they don't have a rear wing at all. Because I don't think they originally came with rear wings. So I feel like this whole rear wing business was totally unnecessary. It's just, they could have saved money by not having it. And because that wing's too small anyways, I think it's going to break off. Here's a Hot Wheels of a manga tuner, and I feel like that pretty much is a Hakosuka done by Mattel. Alright, so I'll leave one of these churros up here. But really what I think is this is a 1/43rd scale car. Because this is a 1/43rd scale Kyosho D Nano of the R34. And an R34 is a pretty big car. I mean, this is like now 5 generations past, or I don't know, the R31, 32, 33, 30, well, 4, but there's some weird ones in between. So yeah, it could be 5 or 6 generations in the future. So this would be much narrower than this car in real life. Well, there it is. It's bigger than I wished it would be, but I totally accept the fact that it's an RC car, so it has to be this size, or it's logical. The only really big issue I have are, the way the tires are dented because the stand, that unnecessary box stand thing. The wing thing is really difficult to put in there because it's actually too thin, those pieces of plastic. I feel like the wing could have been stronger, or really not have a rear wing at all, because the original cars never had rear wings. So it's totally unnecessary for them to even put that wing on there. And then just whoever designed the mold to make this body doesn't know what they're doing, because those sink marks are kind of unappealing. But anyways, I've seen some just body shells you can buy, but they weren't selling this exact one. They were selling the Z and I think some other body shells. So if you get one of these RC cars, you can just buy extra body shells instead of another RC car. You're not going to get the greatest RC experience of something this small. You just got to accept that. But, if you want to just mess around on your desk or something like that, or in a small apartment like I have, then it's perfectly fine. You're not going to win. I don't think that people are going to be really racing these things either. It's just it's a toy. It's not a hobby-grade RC vehicle. Okay, well, with that said, I'm still happy I got this because basically I just like Hakosukas. And so, great stuff. All right, I'll see you guys in the next RC, maybe a next RC video, but definitely a tuned car video.